welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. For today's video, I thought I would take you through what it is that I do for my pregnancy leg day. I am now in my third and final trimester, and this leg day is what I've been doing throughout my whole pregnancy. It's helping keeping me strong, but it's nothing too strenuous. So to start out my leg session, I go in with my dynamic movements and my dynamic warm-up. Starting out with some forward leg swings and then some side leg swings. These are helping get the hips nice and warmed up before lifting anything. It's so important to do your dynamic stretches before you lift anything, as these are the stretches that help get your muscles and joints warmed up, ready to prepare for lifting. And if you don't know what dynamic stretches are, they are basically just stretches that involve movement rather than a stretch that you hold in one place. Now, I am absolutely rubbish with the names of these kind of stretches. I feel like everyone just makes them up. But I think these are called something along the lines of hip rotations. As well as doing this stretch during my leg day routine, I also do them as part of my pregnancy stretch routine, as it just really helps open up those hips and the pelvic area. And then I move into this lunge to hamstring stretch. This really focuses on getting the hip flexors nice and warmed up, as well as the hamstrings. With the leg swings, I do about 15 to 20 on each leg, and then with the hip rotations and the lunge to hamstring stretch, I do 10 to 12 reps on each leg. Even though I do have my front foot resting on the floor and my back knee resting on the floor, I do find that I can lose my balance a little bit with this stretch. So if you're the same, feel free to do it next to a bench or a piece of equipment where you can hold on throughout the whole stretch. That just makes sure that you can keep your balance and make sure that you get in a deep enough stretch. And then I also go in with some bodyweight squats to get warmed up as well. I make sure that these are nice, slow and controlled. I'm breathing through the whole movement and I'm really taking my time with them and trying to get as deep as possible. This is to make sure that all of my leg muscles, my glutes, quads, hamstrings, etc. are all nice and warmed up and ready to be lifting, and that also my knees and hips are warmed up. Especially during pregnancy, my hips can be quite stiff, so I really like to get those warmed up before lifting anything, as well as my knees. They can click if I don't warm up properly, so to prevent any kind of joint pain or any injury, it's really important to do some dynamic warm-ups. Then the first exercise of the leg day is a Romanian deadlift. I do one warm-up set of this with just the bar. Now that I am in my third trimester, I'm really stripping it back and lowering the weight, just trying to listen to my body and not lift too heavy, but still trying to lift something to keep my strength and also support my body through labour and pregnancy. For an RDL, you want your feet hip width apart, you want your toes pointing out ever so slightly, and you want a nice bend in the knee. You want to make sure that you're hinging forward at the hips and keeping your back nice and neutral. You don't want any arching in the back. And you want to bring the bar down to mid-shin, and on your way back up, keeping the glutes nice and engaged. And you don't want to overextend your hips at the top and over squeeze your glutes. This is just not needed. It's really not necessary. Then I moved in to some back squats. I either do back squats or leg press. Leg press is my preference, but the machine was taken, so I thought I'd switch it up a little bit and do some squats. I've got my feet shoulder width apart, my toes pointing out. You want your back neutral, no rounding of the back. I'm sinking my hips back and down towards the floor, and you want to make sure that your knees stay pointing out throughout the whole movement. You don't want them to be caving inwards. During a squat, you also want to make sure that your chest is lifted upwards and that you're bracing your core throughout the movement. Then once my two compound movements were done, I went in with some isolated movements. So I went in with a leg extension. For a leg extension, you want to make sure that the pad is just above your ankles. You don't want it to be resting on your feet, and you want to make sure that you're keeping the movement controlled. You don't want to be kicking and flinging the weight upwards. I always grip the bars to help with stability and prevent this. And then for my last exercise, I went in with a seated hip abduction. You want to make sure that your spine is nice and neutral and that you're not slouching. And then rest your outer thigh against the pad, and you want to drive out through the knees as far as mobility allows. And as always, you want to make sure that you're not slamming the weight back down. It needs to be controlled throughout the whole exercise. And now it's time for our static stretches. So static stretches are stretches where you hold the movement in place for a period of time. It involves no movement. So first I went in with a quad stretch. You want to bring your heel towards your glute and hold it in place with your hand. Keeping your knees together, you want to slightly hinge your hips forward and you'll feel a nice big stretch across your quads. Then I went in with a hamstring stretch, and from a neutral stance, you want to bring one leg in front of the other on the heel. You want to bend the other leg, hinge forward at your hips, keeping your back nice and straight. Rest your hands on the bent leg and kind of move into the movement and move your upper body down. That will feel a big stretch through your hamstrings. Then I went in with the butterfly stretch. So you want to sit with your chest up and your back nice and straight, and you want to bring the soles of your feet together. I just find it a lot easier to hold my feet together. Whilst you're in this pose, you kind of want to think about pushing your knees towards the floor. And it's really good to focus on your breathing throughout all of these stretches as well. Then I went in with a pigeon pose, which is really good for stretching the glutes and the hips. You want your front leg to be bent at the knee and your back leg to be straight back behind you. I like to place my hands on the floor and to lean into the front leg to get that nice big stretch. You can go down onto your elbows, having your chest towards the floor for a deeper stretch. I just can't do this because of my bump, and I don't think I'm that flexible at this point. And then I also like to do a couple of back stretches, specifically pregnancy back stretches at the end of my session, especially with doing things like RDLs and stuff like that. So I went in with a cat-cow stretch. This is absolutely amazing for relieving tension in your lower back, and this is essential during pregnancy because the lower back pain is really no joke. And then I went in with a child's pose stretch. I've got my knees really wide here just to be able to accommodate my bump, and this is also really good at relieving tension in the back. And that is my whole pregnancy leg day. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video.